Good evening, YouTube. It is the 23rd of September, 2012. This is the J-MELO Weekly recap. And I'm first going to apologize for last week because we did not actually have an episode. What happened was I recorded it, and I always record using the Movie Maker. Well, when I went to go publish it using the Movie Maker, which is what I always do, it ate the video. So I did it like twice and just threw my hands up. It was, however, the viewer special. So here's what we're going to do this week. For the first time ever, we're going to do 2 episodes into one. Last week, as I mentioned, was the J-MELO viewer special. And of course, David Spector was your commentator for the program. And one of the guests, or the guest, was Kim Magurun, who is the label mate with Meiji. We have an interesting little story about her, which I will get to in this episode also. The songs that were performed were In the Spotlight by Nami Amuro, Otomi Senso Girl's Way by Morimo Clover Z, one from the J Standards catalog, which was Kusudarake no Lalura, or Wonderful Laura, or Wounded Laura rather, by Hideki Saijo, and Life by Kimaguren. And the third song, by the way, was from 1978, so yeah, we really hit the standards. We're really going in there, as always. Cool thing was that, Meiji and Kimaguren worked together. So, but one of what was also pretty neat was one of the band members apparently could speak perfect English, and for the first little bit of the interview, it was fine, and it goes strictly into Japanese, which was fine. But I just thought at first I watched that when I was watching the episode last week. I sat there and I went, "Well, that's kind of interesting." But in many ways, it was also cool. Also, new country was added to the email section, and that was Croatia. There was also letters written by the UK and France. So the worldwide appeal of Japanese music is getting even further and further. And let's hope it continues, because God knows it may become like literally the global music type in the next few years. If you were to ask me, I'd say maybe within the next 2 years you're going to have every country and their brother emailing that show. Speaking of Morimo Clover Z, they were coming from Paris, France, from the Eiffel Tower. They were actually dressed up as the Sailor Moon characters, which, for those who have been keeping up, you may or may not know you may know that there's been some speculation as to whether or not they're going to be performing the theme song for Sailor Moon when the reboot happens in summer of next year. So that was actually pretty interesting to be able to see that and see how that works out. So, yeah, it was actually pretty neat. When they were performing the song, they were literally dressed up as the characters, and when I first saw that, I was like, well, isn't this interesting? So last week's episode was actually really, really good. This week, we went and we had a visit from the GazettE, and their new single Ibitsu was played. And in the interview, they were more or less talking. The main theme was about like their dreams and what they want to do in the future and stuff of that nature. It was actually a really, really, really good interview. Kylie went to the San Francisco the San Francisco J-Pop Summit, and she got to perform a song, her song called Anywhere, which was very good. You know, it's interesting when you hear a song live for the first time, because sometimes you hear a song and you don't know how it's going to play out live. You hear it on the record and you think sometimes the record version's better. Because I know, truth be told, first time I heard a song, what was it, Gekako by Versailles. I didn't know what to think of it, to be perfectly honest. And that's when I was listening to it off the Jubilee album. Then I heard it live, and it's one of my favorite video clips to watch now. So that is definitely that's an example of a song that makes you just go, I like this. And sometimes you prefer live over studio. There's very rare occasions where I actually do that, but that was just, one of them. The Gazette, by the way, for those who don't know, when they do the J-MELO Awards, they win like the most emailed requested act during the J-MELO Awards. So, let's see, what else do we have from this week's episode of Note? Oh, anyway, I forgot. So they were doing the Japan Star Search segment just about every month or every week, right? Okay. Well, they had someone from the J-Pad Girls. No, I'm not kidding. That was the name of it. And she did a cover of, speaking of Sailor Moon earlier, the ending song to Emi-chan's First Love, or Rashiku Ikamasho, or Let's Be Ourselves. That was actually really cool. And literally, when I looked at the screen, I saw someone popped up. I was like, "What?" I'll be honest, I haven't heard that song in a while, because I can't remember the last time I actually watched that special. I think it was like, God, it's been months since I've at least seen it, if not close to a year. But I never thought I would see that song covered. Now I want to see somebody cover Tomatoes Policy, or Tomi no Policy. Somebody do that one now. I'll really be happy. That's one of my favorite ending songs to the series. Well, either do that one or do the opening to the 5th season of Sailor Moon will be really good. But I'm just saying, no pressure. Anyways, I believe that was all we had for this week, believe it or not. When you do when they do these interview episodes, because of the fact that they do the interview, those take up a good portion of the episode, which I'm not complaining. And plus, it was a Gazette. How can you complain about that one? It's the most requested group for the show, They were the number one group, like I said, this past awards show. So, anywho, you all have a great week. I will talk to you next Sunday night. So until then, my friends, sayonara.